Hi, this is Stacy from Gooseberry Bridge Farm, and we are in the garden, and it is September, late September, the 26th, I believe. And who knows when I will finally edit this video and post it, so that's why I decided to mention that. I'm going to show you around the garden, and you can see all my very sad tomato plants. Some of them look better than that. I completely stopped everything, pruning and like trellising and all of that in the extreme heat in July, but they have been going strong until recently. So I will show you all of that and our fourth succession of bush beans, our crazy looking okra that's still producing, and all of these loaded pepper plants. Hi, Teddy. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. So it's a fall morning. Not sure why Teddy's wearing a tank top. It is about 50 degrees out here in the garden. There's quite a lot of bug damage on things, which comes with the neglect. Like there's something eating these jalapenos. I don't know what eats jalapenos, but not most things. Anyway, these are my fourth succession of bush beans. They're doing awesome. I'll have to look up the varieties for you. But I planted 4 different varieties of more like traditional green beans. I bought them at the hardware store in a bulk bin. Our Ace Hardware has bulk seeds, so that's a really great option especially for beans. And when you plant a lot of them, or if you don't plant a lot of them, because it's a bulk bin, you can just get what you need, and they do it by weight. So I planted 4 varieties. 2 of them were 50 to 53 day varieties, and 2 of them were 47 day varieties, and that's like extremely fast. I think I'm going to just try them again in the spring. I really like the dragon tongue beans, but they take a little bit longer, and they're a little more susceptible to heat issues. Oh, there's my shadow. These did great growing in the heat, and I've only watered them once, which it did rain about once a week in August, so that really helped. But I like to not have to do too much maintenance. So this is our okra that I was talking about. We only have 3 plants here, and it goes up over my head. They stopped making leaves. I've never had okra get that tall, but I've been picking them every day. I need to keep picking them. No, when I say I've never had okra get that tall, I also haven't grown okra that many times. So, but I know it didn't do this last time. And this is 2 different varieties. One is a red okra, I think it's called Jing Orange, even though it's red. And the other one is just Clemens spineless okra. They're very good. This one's about ready, about past ready rather. We usually pick them smaller than that, but we had one of our fall festivals this weekend to attend, so we didn't get to the garden since Friday, and it's now Monday morning. So these are my poblano peppers. They finally decided to produce some peppers, which are finally ripening, but they're kind of small, but it's something at this point. They've just been struggling all season with the extreme heat in July. They didn't set any fruit, and then they set some peppers in August. These are Thai chilies. They've been like rocking it all summer. There's some ripe ones down there I need to get. They make a great hot sauce or like pickled peppers. And then the rest of these peppers are jalapenos, different colors, but you can see how many peppers are on these plants. So I'm just leaving them until they either ripen or we're gonna frost. This one plant is laying completely on the ground because it's so heavy with peppers, but it hasn't broken, so I'm just leaving it there. Some of them have tomato cages on them, but oh, Teddy wants to show you a pepper. What kind of pepper is that, Teddy? Do you remember?
No.
It's a Thai chili.
A Thai chili.
Thai chili pepper. All right, so we need to pick beans, but they're wet, so I don't really want to do it, but we're going to. There's how loaded up these bean plants are since it's been 2 days. I've got some African basil here that's doing awesome. If you've never grown African basil, it's It's weird. It tastes like basil and oregano mixed together. It makes really good pesto. There's a volunteer tomato growing in the beans. So this is my cherry, tomato, and cucumber wall, or arch. Anyway, there's other stuff coming through from the other side. There were pumpkins and things over here, but I picked most of them. Squash bugs are horrendous right now. I do have a few things I need to harvest in here. Here's some more jalapenos. This is sage. It's doing really well. I need to dry some more of that, but it will keep growing like this, like up until like a little ways into frost. There's the little squash guy under there. So you can see all the damage on them. Oh, this is what I was going to show you. This is the Zucchino rampicante, I believe is the right order, and there's a squash bug on it. These guys are pretty resistant to squash bugs as far as it killing the plant, but it does kind of knock them back. And there's a striped cucumber beetle on that flower. They are evil. Some years I've lost everything to them. Yeah, I found it. I thought, buddy. Let's see. Let's go over here. This was pumpkins. Not actual pumpkins, but Long Island cheese, squash that look like pumpkins, but they did really awesome. Yeah, I do see that. There's a ripe cucumber on the ground. Okay, so on with the garden tour. These are my sweet peppers. They have been really sad. They're in a slightly raised bed, and I'm just not sure what's going on with them. They haven't done as well this year as other years. I don't know if that was the heat, like the poblanos, but you can see several of the plants are down now, and that's actually from the weight of their peppers, so that's good. But I don't know how I need to support them better next year. I'm thinking I'm going to put support netting like I use on my flowers on this bed next year, because once they fall over, the main issue is that we keep having these heat waves. Like it was 90 on Saturday, which is 2 days ago, and with the peppers flopped over and exposed to the sun, they sunburn, and that's not good. They need the shade of their leaves, but there's some on that plant that I had to pick the other day because they were sunburned. Oh, and here was my third succession of beans. I was just picking these a little while ago, and then this happened. These were dragon tongues, and something happened that they did not like. But I've never had beans planted here before. They are in the shade a lot in the morning, and we did get really hot, and I had to water them 3 times a day for a long time when they were little, so they may have just had a stressful beginning. This is my sweet potatoes. They have finally really taken off. They took over. There's tubs in here. You can kind of see them because this one doesn't have a sweet potato in it, this one on the end, and neither does that one, but the rest do. There's also some African basil sticking up, some parsley, sweet potatoes in there. They've grown like crazy. Teddy's gonna harvest some okra with his scissors. Maybe. It's a little harder. The scissors. All right, yeah, put it in the basket. Here's our basket so far this morning. This is our mini basket. We probably should have brought the big one because we've got a bunch of young loofah here on the bottom and some zucchini from our fall planting. All of this vine here is our loofah, and it is still making like tons and tons of loofahs. The flowers aren't open yet this morning, but they'll be all along the top. Attracts tons of bees, and we pick the young loofahs at this point and eat them like you would a summer squash, and they're super tasty. Because this is my summer squash bed. Everything from the original succession in May died, and we replanted with fall plants, and it looks like, okay, put it in the basket, buddy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 survived. Yep, 6 survived there, and then I've also got some right here outside the garden. There's like 4 plants there. They actually did a lot better with the second succession, but I planted 22, and there's like 10 left. So they just, okay, I'll get them, buddy. Anyway, they just didn't do well. Pest pressure was too high. so these are some more of my tomatoes. These are my sauce tomatoes. They still have quite a lot of tomatoes on them, considering the time of year. We've gotten just gobs of tomatoes off of these plants, but they're kind of weird. So you could go look at my video from last year. There's some blossom and rot on that. For the tomatoes. And this is about what they looked like in August last year. So to get to late September and still have decent tomatoes is not really all that bad. This is the other side of the loofahs. And then there's Annie going to feed the pigs some tomatoes. Got some volunteer Mexican torch sunflowers. Pollinators really like them. And this was my pollinator garden from the early summer. If you watched my other video, it was probably in there. The borage completely died and then grew back. That's what these two plants are. I need to look into if there's something I can do with those leaves, because I haven't done anything. And that's all tiny marigolds that just took off and took over everything after all of the other stuff died. And some of it was sunflowers that I expected to die, but there was also some nasturtiums and other things in there that just didn't do the heat. So the tomato jungle is a little hard to show you at this point, but that's all tomato plants that I stopped pruning and I stopped watering about 8 weeks ago, and I stopped doing everything but picking tomatoes. Considering all of that, I think they've done quite well. Some of the rows are more dead than others. Like that one is really bad. This one has done better as far as keeping its leaves, but see where they went up to the top and I didn't do anything to support them above that, so they just fell down when we got a good rain in August. And I'm okay with that because I got my tomatoes. It was a really rough summer, and we're getting our food. It took a lot more work to get here, so wherever I could cut corners, I needed to cut corners. Like planting beans 4 times, that's a lot more work than planting beans 1 time and getting what you need for the year. That means not only we were getting harvests from our bean plants, we were just getting smaller harvests. Oh my gosh, bugs. These are harlequin beetles and they suck. They're all over my nasturtiums now. I'm gonna have to pick them off. Anyway, I gotta keep picking beans. I went and got another basket to put beans in, and then I filled it with tomatoes. And I thought I already picked this section, yet there are beans in here. And the grasshoppers this year have been horrible, and they are making holes in my beans. We don't have a lot of bean pests here, so that's one reason I really like to have the beans planted early in the season. They, if we plant them in May and they make beans in June, it's and it's not 100 degrees or 90 degrees even, then they do really well, and we don't have any problems with pests or diseases or anything. That's part of why I planted these really prolific varieties for this time of year, because I knew they would have more challenges to face. They're really doing pretty well. It's just the grasshoppers. The 2 middle successions that I did in between the first one and this one were a lot harder with pests and the heat and everything else. And it's like, if it was just in the 80s, they'd still do well. When bush beans bloom, it needs to be in the like 75 to 85 or 80, even up to 90 degree range, or they don't pollinate properly. They're self-pollinators, and when they bloom, it just needs to be cooler to get the best results, the most consistent bean shape and size, and the most pollination that's successful. So when it's in the mid 90s and they bloom, you don't get much. You get a bunch of weird, and some varieties are more susceptible to this than others. And I'm gonna be seeking out heat tolerant varieties from now on. But I was planting dragon tongue beans, and that was I really like them, but they didn't do well at all in the heat. So it just wasn't worth it. So I don't know. I might try to plant some of them early next year, because like I said, I really like them. They're really good. They're really forgiving. Normally they weren't in the heat, but normally they're really forgiving as far as how long you can wait to pick them, basically. So they can be bigger and still tender. But there are other varieties that are like that too, so I will be focusing on them, I guess, because we need a lot of beans to get through the winter. We freeze dry our beans, and they are really good. I need to do a video on freeze-dried beans, and you don't have to blanch beans when you freeze-dry them, which is pretty much all the video would say, so I don't know why I need to do one. This is our spring-planted carrots that are, I don't know, they kind of got stunted in the middle of summer, and now they're growing back, but they're all blooming, so I'm thinking I'm just going to let them seed and see what we get. And then we have celery on the other side that I cut and harvested, and now is growing back. It actually looks way better than it did with the heat. Like, this is a lot taller than anything we got in the spring, but I don't know if it's very tender. Oh, it is. It's like skinny. It's not like store celery. Can't focus on it. Oh well. Anyway, we blend the leaves and make a powder and chop up these tiny little celery stems, and it has a much stronger flavor than anything I've ever bought at the store. So I will put that in my basket and throw it in our soup later. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the garden in late September. I did an update in July. It's pretty different from then. And I did, like I said, I did an update in August last year. So that really doesn't show you, what it could happen in 1 year, but it's neat to see it in all the different times and know that weeds and dead plants are normal.